Good morning, everyone. I'm joined by Stuart Ritchie, our new CFO, who joined us in January. So he's been pretty busy with everything that's been going on in the last few months running up to our year end. But Stuart's going to talk about himself a little bit more in his section later on. So I think most of you know me. I'm Claire Milverton, CEO. Few things we're going to cover off. I'll start off with an overview and highlights, then Stuart will take over on the financial performance, and then I'll be looking to the future. What's the key focus for FY24? Finalise with objectives and outlook, and then I believe we've got some time for some questions at the end. So just in terms of a quick overview before we get into the numbers, I really believe at One Spatial we have a unique proposition to the market. We're a software and solutions company, and we're really helping our customer make critical decisions from data, but with a real specialism in location data. And it is more complex than standard data, for example, product lines. And we have our market-leading platform for location master data management, which I'll go through in a moment. But this unique proposition is where we are situated in the market with this LMDM, Location Master Data Management Solution, because we're at the intersection of two key global growing markets. We've got the geospatial information market, the GIS market, really very specialised on location data only, the likes of Esri and Ordnance Survey in that side. And then on the right-hand side in the purple, you've got the master data management market, a more mainstream IT market. Master data management there may do some basic spatial, but really around product and customers. And what we bring to the market is the best of both worlds for our customers. We're data agnostic, system agnostic. We can load location data, non-location data. But because we come from that spatial side, we really have fantastic technology, which is patented and can process huge volumes of complex location data. So in terms of market drivers, there are a number of these. And, government is a key driver for us, investment in infrastructure, levelling up, building back better, building back greener. And digital transformation is happening across all of our sectors. They're wanting to do more with less. They need to have good data, not to just operate today, but do planning for tomorrow. And you can really are getting disruptive solutions now in this area. And we'll talk about that more when we get to our traffic management plan later on. And this should all really roll up to the whole ESG agenda. We have over 1,000 customers globally, which is really good from a risk perspective and no one customer dominance. And we work in some really resilient markets of government, utilities and transportation. We work with some powerful partners and they're really key to our growth strategy, and I'll talk about those more later on. And then in terms of revenues, our real focus is on growing recurring revenues from software licenses, be that term licenses or in the future, more SaaS-based licenses. And in terms of the revenue split by region, we've got regions UK and Ireland, Europe, US and Australia. But the key growth regions for us are UK and US. So now I wanted to bring some of this to life for you, as I really do believe all the work and the investments that we are doing over the years are going to be providing us with transformational opportunities. So the row across the top there is all about the National Underground Asset Register. And a week ago today, I was invited by the government to City Hall to launch the pilot of the National Underground Asset Register. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's the government creating this map of all the pipes and cables underground. And that was really exciting for me. And then in the afternoon, we were taken by the government to HS2, to the Euston site, to actually look with the NUAR map and look at the pipes underground. And interestingly, whilst that was with the government, that is actually a contract that we won this year to help HS2 bring all their spatial data together, not just for the planning and what they're building now, but also get that data in place for the future. And, we are doing both of those platforms. So we won the National Underground Asset Register work last year. We've won HS2 this year. And, we are winning this because of our market-leading software platform for location master data management, which I'll talk about more in a moment. These platforms will be in for the long term. And, there are opportunities for us to replicate this globally. There is a lot of discussion about noirs happening in lots of countries, and really the UK is the first one to really go for this. So we'll be well positioned for that. But I suppose if there's one thing I want everyone to take away from today is this transformational growth opportunity, because we can take this market-leading platform that we have to build our own SaaS-based solutions for digital transformation. And I'm going to talk about this more towards the end of the presentation, and particularly around our traffic management plan automation solution. So here is our market-leading platform. And I tend to think of it in three product areas now. We've got in the purple the data management part and the product that does the large projects. Then moving up to the top, we have the business applications side. So we have some applications that are built on the Esri platform in France, and we have our own business apps that are born out of our core data management, one integrator and one data gateway, where there's real repeatability of solutions, which we get in the US in terms of our term license offerings for NG911 and HPMS. But the really exciting thing that we're doing here, now that we have our cloud platform ready, which has been ready since January, is that we can launch these SaaS-based solutions, and they are really transformational. Just spending a few more minutes onto the platform, back into the purple area, as you can see, we bring in data from lots of different sources. You can see that in the yellow. We bring it in for our cloud platform, One Data Gateway, that we launched 3 years ago. The way that we check the data before it goes into these large projects like NUR and HS2 is that it goes into our patented rules engine to validate, clean, synchronize, update, and analyze the data. And you can see that grey arrow going in there of rules. Rules is really important. That's how we check the data. Is the data compliant with this rule set? And where you get repeatability of those rules, that's where we can make lots and lots of gross margin. And that's why traffic management has been really good for us. And so is NG911. In terms of margins on these data management projects, because they tend to be often more one-off, like National Underground Asset and HS2, with rule sets there is some repeatability, but we really have to write those rules. We're bringing lots of data from different sources. So these larger projects tend to have more services and be slightly lower margin, maybe 40 to 50%. But as you go up into the platform, and particularly onto the one spatial business apps where you get repeatability of rules or SaaS-based solutions, you get a much higher margin. And just to note there on the right-hand side of the pictures, you talk about NG911 when we get to the US, but we've also now launching our traffic management plan under the banner of One Street Works. Okay, so now going into the results of the year. So this has really been a year of focused investment and delivery. So what have we been investing in? Well, we've really been investing in the One Spatial platform, including cloud enablement and traffic management plan automation. And we've been investing in our sales team and processes. And I'm really pleased to announce that we've got 3 new sales directors coming on board from the start, really, of this financial year for UK, US, and France. And partner program is key. And the strategic focus, as I mentioned earlier, has really been on the software license sales. And this has really resulted in key wins and an expanding offering for us. So we've had a good level of high value contracts, and we're building a really good, strong, growing pipeline of prospects. We've got the growth in recurring revenue. US is the largest contributor to annual recurring revenue. And we're moving into profitability and better cash generation. And we have our first SaaS offerings now in trial. So we've really got a strong basis on which to build as we head into FY24. And it's really important to win new contracts, and we are winning, as you can see, across our geographies. We have a land and expand strategy. So you can see a number of really good logos there. And we're expanding with our current clients, some really key clients there like California and Google. And there's always lots you can do with data. So there's always this opportunity to expand. Okay, so I'm now going to hand over to Stuart, who's going to take us through the numbers in more detail.
Thank you. Just a brief introduction about myself. Claire mentioned I joined the company at the beginning of this year. It was sort of at the very back end of last year, actually, but it was sort of this year was really where I sort of got my feet on the ground. I am a chartered accountant by profession. I've been operating business for the last 20 years, split between practice and industry. And my most recent company, I was a CFO of a company that's in a comparable field, so IT services management. So I dealt with license sales, own IP, service delivery, managed services, that type of stuff. So lots and lots of sort of comparable areas in terms of business operations between my old company and One Spatial. So very excited by the opportunity here. So thanks very much indeed. So just to take you directly then into the key financial highlights, I suppose the headline figures here, the revenue has increased by 11% year on year. So we've now topped 30 million of revenue in terms of the split between revenue and non-recurring revenue, and the total revenue of 30 million for the year, which is an increase of 11%. The most encouraging factor here is the component and the split and distinguishment between the amount of recurring revenue. You can see that's almost at 50% now. We expect to top 50% going into FY24, but during FY23, we recorded 49%, which gives us a really, really strong base going into FY24. We can see at a gross profit level, we've remained fairly consistent. So that's a really good result in view of the backdrop of the macro inflationary increases we're seeing across the board. So 52%. And then adjusted EBITDA has increased by 2 percentage points from 15% last year to 17%. So we recorded 5 million, which was slightly ahead actually of the trading update that we gave at the beginning of March. Operating profit, I'm very delighted to report that has increased to 1.3 million this year. That's an increase of over 200% compared to the previous year. So a very strong year, 23. In terms of free cash flow, we had a great performance in FY23, much better than FY22. We generated free cash flow for the first time. There you can see cash flow generation of 200,000, and that's mainly driven by a very good conversion of cash towards the end of the year. Last year, you can see we delivered 1.2 of a free cash outflow, so a very encouraging performance this year. We continue to invest in R&D, as Claire mentioned. There are various products that we're continuing to invest in, more specifically the TMPA product, our cloud solution, and our existing product set. It's worth noting also that in addition to the free cash flow generation, we secured a banking facility that we notified you of in the middle of last year, so June 2022. That expires in June 2025, and it provides some additional headroom that can be called on if required. At the end of the year and actually up to date, that facility remains undrawn, but it's there for available liquidity if required. It's worth noting that the net cash position, which is the gross cash less our loan obligations, remain the same year on year. So that is in spite of 400,000 deferred consideration paid during 2023 to the former shareholders of a company that we acquired a couple of years back, Geomap Images. So on a sort of constant basis, our cash has actually increased year on year. So if we go to the financial highlights on a regional basis, I suppose just to pick up on what Claire said, we're seeing some really, really positive news in the UK and positive news in the US in terms of those new logos and the contracts that we've signed. And that's generated some significant increases in revenue across those two locations. Australia continues to operate a more third-party model as a reseller, but we're looking to transform that business in future years to selling proprietary software. In spite of that, it still increased actually 11%, so double-digit increase in Australia as well. Europe operates a slightly different product mix, so its sales are slightly different. As we notified you during 2022, it's taking slightly longer to transition from the perpetual model to the term license model. But we have, as Claire mentioned, taken on a new sales director in France that's really hopefully going to accelerate that process going into 2024 and beyond. The most significant components of our revenue in the current year come from the UK and Europe, as you can see, with the US making up a small proportion, but with the building blocks that we've put in place, we would hope that that contributes to a much higher percentage of overall revenue going forward. So as I mentioned, the recurring revenue, if I just draw out the factors or main points here, we can see that recurring revenue has grown from 12.2 to 14.8. So those are the purple numbers on the right-hand side. And recurring revenue contributes to 49% of the overall revenue proportion in FY23, which gives us a really sound footing to go into FY24, particularly in view of what we're seeing out in the market in terms of inflationary increases. One of the key components of that is the term license revenue actually that's grown, and that a lot of that comes from the US, where we've got some very good contracts this year from some of the larger states. In terms then of the annualized revenue, we're looking at an increase of 2.4 million year on year. So a lot of that comes from the UK, the flagship projects that we have going on in the UK and the US, as I mentioned. The continued upward trajectory there is really in line with our strategic priorities and our growth plans. And actually, we've set ourselves up very well at the beginning of this year to continue to grow that during 2024 and beyond. It's notable that the US annual recurring revenue there is up from 1.4 million last year to 2.2. So really, really great performance for the US that year. In addition, around the renewals on our existing products, it gives us a lot of confidence with our existing products because the renewal rates has increased from 93 to 94%. So very well regarded, very well used, very well respected product set. So it's very encouraging. Okay, so if I were just to summarize, I suppose I've just summarized the FY23 position, but just summarize where we are now. As Claire mentioned earlier on, we feel like we're at a point of inflection. We are focused on increasing our SaaS offering and our cloud-based offering. That, in turn, is not only going to generate revenue, but it's going to generate good quality, profitable revenue. So you can see from the slide there, in the middle of the slide, we are where we currently are in terms of a revenue split. But as we go forward into the future, we anticipate that far more of our revenue is going to come from our SaaS product offering. And we think that in the future, the SaaS product could even get as large as our existing core business, but at a much more profitable level because the platform development has already been completed. So how are we going to do this? I guess there are a couple of factors to consider. The first is we've already talked about how great our tech is, and we've already talked about, how well respected it is in the industry. Talked about our great clients, the opportunities that we have in there to expand within existing clients and land new clients based on the feedback that we're getting. We've also talked about the global sales team and how we're set up at the beginning of 2024 to really execute on our strategy around cloud sales and the development of those sales going forward. So there is a significant market opportunity for us across our core business and across the new elements of the cloud opportunities that we're seeing. We have developed a great pipeline and we hope to execute that on 24 and into 25. So in the medium term, our plan is to significantly accelerate our annual revenue growth and deliver the operational leverage inherent in our business model. So we've had a fantastic year in 2023. We have the right building blocks and we have the right plan in place, which we are confident we can execute upon in order to deliver additional levels of annual recurring revenue going forward to provide stability to the business and to transform the business into a cloud and SaaS offering platform. Thank you very much. So that's all from me. I'll hand back to Claire.
Thanks, Stuart. Okay, so key areas of focus and opportunity for FY24. The US, partners and SaaS solutions, and in particular, the One Street Works traffic management plan. So kicking off with the US, before going into the slide, really just standing back, if you just think about the UK compared to the US, in the UK, we have one Department of Transport. In the US, there's 50, because it's pretty much one per state. So back to my point I was saying earlier about the rules, you've got that much more repeatability of rules. So once we've done one NG911 implementation for one of the states, we can do much more cookie cutter approach. And that's the same with all of our opportunities. So it really is a scalable opportunity. And also want to think of the US in two ways. So we've got the enterprise sales and then we've got the SaaS sales. So we're going to start with the enterprise sales first. So we believe we've got an addressable market, try and put some numbers around it, of over 50 million in the States. And the reason why we get to that figure is we say, 1 million annual recurring revenue per state times 50 gets us to 50 million. Back to what our strategy is, it's about a land and expand strategy. So we need to win new states in the year to achieve this. And in the year, we're very pleased that we won 3 new states. We won New York, Indiana, and Arkansas with NG911. So then how do we build that out? Well, we build it out through our expand strategy. And these were some expansion opportunities we had in the year. So with California, we did a deal with Caltrans, and Rising was a partner involved in this. And if you think back to our platform, we have the validate, the integrate, the sync. So this was using our sync part of our platform where we were syncing transport data that was in one database across other databases in Caltrans. We had another win in Maryland with the Cat Lab. And we've also got on a framework to sell some of our technology, our conflation, where we bring 2 sets of data together. I call it 1 + 1 = 3 across 18 states, called the Eastern Transportation Coalition. So this is a sort of the growth, the expand phase. And that's working well for us and we're winning doing that. But the exciting thing where you get repeatability of rules, and I'll keep going on about this because this is really key, we can do SaaS-based solutions. So for NG911, we're going to do a SaaS-based solution for all the cities and the counties. So there's 23,000 cities and counties, and and we're saying like an addressable market for us is around 100 million for that. And how that works is we put our 911 rules into our cloud platform, and with the multi-tenancy backend and the ability for potentially 23,000 cities and counties to access our platform. And it's quite a simple solution. We call it really validation as a service. So they'll take their data, they'll drag and drop it up to the portal, and in a minute or so, they'll get a report back that says, your data is right for 70%, wrong for 30%, go away and fix it. And they can have this iterative process. And it is sort of sold on a different level. So with the enterprise sales, we tend to sell it around, on average, $150,000 per year per solution. So for NG911, it's about 150. Then we have crash mapping, inflation, so all of that building up to the million. But this is at a much lower price point, depending on population of the city and the county. So it could be $8,000, $15,000, or $30,000. But anyway, so we put this into the cloud. We have put the priority onto traffic management because the market opportunity is bigger in traffic management, just because there isn't a solution. We do have some competition in NG911. It's a complete disruptor traffic management. But we've started some pilot trials underway. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got a new sales director in the US. I'm really pleased about. He's really experienced. He's going to be fantastic. He's starting from just really started, and part of his opportunity is to really part of his role is to really build out that team. So we've put in our plan for next year. I think we've got 30 already in the US. We're now planning for 40. So we've put this additional investment in, including the sales director, but really wanting to build up the team to capture both on the opportunities at the States, but also to really focus in, because it's a really different sales proposition on this NG911. And, we've got the bones of that. He's starting to build that out with me. And, I think we've got a really good opportunity there. So it's pretty exciting. And just to really remember, in 2017, we only had one client in the US, which was US Census, and now we have 30. So we have been scaling, but we need to do that more because the opportunity is big. Okay, so the second thing I said was growth with partners, and it is really key in two respects. So going back to that picture that I mentioned at the beginning, where we sit at the intersection of two key global markets, we need to, on the left-hand side, have links with these GIS and location data partners, Esri, Hexagon, Ordnance Survey, because with the solutions like Nuo and HS2, you're bringing in data from lots of different sources or lots of different systems. So we still need to have one foot in that camp because we really need to understand it. And that's where a lot of our heritage has come from, and why we've got a really good spatial data platform. So that's really good. But in terms of market access, the right-hand side is really important for me. This is where you have like the mainstream master data management companies or mainstream IT companies like CGI, IBM, and things like the National Underground Asset Register. We wouldn't have won that without Atkins because we just can't get on the framework. So these big digital transformation projects are often put out frameworks we're not on because you've got to be a Deloitte or an Accenture. So really investing in those right-hand side partner relationships is really key. And we've got Warren, who's now been with us for just over a year, actually, who joined us from our IBM, is excellent at growing this. But we've got some really good new partners in the year. We've got Rising, who we won the Caltrans contract on, CGI. So we're on so CGI won a strategic framework with the Home Office for 123 million. I think there's been quite a lot of changes at the Home Office, so that seems to be getting pushed out to the right. But as I understand it, the work from that will hopefully start fairly imminently. So that's really great, getting in with CGI into the Home Office. And we've also been put onto the Atos Horizons program for SMEs. And I know at the moment we're working quite well with them in the US on quite a number of prospects, which is really exciting. And just really finishing off there, the quote from Atkins. So we are working really well with these partners. And I think the thing with them is there's no real overlap in what we do and what they do. They do their non-spatial and then they bring us in. So it is really a 1 + 1 = 3 relationship there, and something that we really do need to continue to grow on. Okay, so here's the moment we've all been waiting for. So, we've got good foundations in our company. We've got good growth. We've got building really good annual recurring revenues. But we really do believe now we've got our SaaS platform, we can build a lot of SaaS-based solutions using rules. But the one that we've really been investing in over the last 4 to 5 years since I've been CEO, because there was such a transformational opportunity, is One Streetworks with traffic management plan automation. So just to give you a little bit of background of what this is, if you're a utility company and you need to dig up the road, you have to send in a plan to the local authority that says you're going to put these cones out, these traffic lights, and they have to rubber stamp it and say, yeah, that's fine. You can go and dig up the road. And what our solution is doing is creating these traffic management plans in an automated way in 2 minutes. And we've got a video shortly coming up, so I won't spoil the video, but it'll hopefully give you a flavour of it. But just before going to the video, I really just wanted to show you how it is. This is a bit of an architecture diagram there, how we're using our platform to build this solution. So in terms of at the bottom, if you remember, we bring in external data. So the data that we're bringing in this solution is data from Ordnance Survey, which is the main data set where all the roads and the properties are. And then we're also bringing in some data for what 3 words, because if you think about a country lane, you can't go to a postcode where to dig up that country lane. So a lot of the utility providers use what 3 words to go to a specific spot in the country lane. I'm sure most of you have heard of what 3 words now. But anyway, we bring that data into our platform, and then the rules, what we like about this, the rules are from a rule book. There's no changes. Once you've got the rules, that is it. So if you use our system, you will get a traffic management plan, which is completely compliant with that rule book. And then we've done some whizzy stuff. We've created a really good UI, and then at the top pops our One Streetworks application called Traffic Management Plan. And I'd now like to go over to a video that our marketing team recently put together, which I think is quite good fun, as well as informative. Just to recap a couple of key points. So it really is the first solution in the market to automate the production of traffic management plans. It ensures compliance with the rules, saves time, money, and addresses workforce, resource and skills issues. And it's a 250 million market opportunity in low-speed roads. So we envisage that's currently costing at least 500 million to do it manually, not considering all the fines and the other things that are causing costs to these utility companies for not having compliant traffic management plans. So the way that we get to that number is 2.5 million for the low speed roads times £100 a plan, basically. So yeah, this solution has been in development, especially it stopped a little bit while we're doing COVID, but really at it for 3 years. And we've really been through this in terms of rigorous review. Now, since we soft launched it back in November at the Highways event, we've had huge interest from all technical users on it. It's absolutely been positive. And we're now at procurement stages with sort of paid trials and initial sales. And we really have got a significant pipeline of opportunities in place. I was at an event yesterday called the Hawk event, and it was taking place in Manchester. And it really gets Streetworks community together, and particularly local authorities. And we managed to get 3 minutes on the stage just before the break. And Andy Fennell, who's the managing director of the Streetworks, said, I only need 3 minutes because we can do a traffic management plan in 3 minutes. And when we did it live, we didn't have like a demo already set up. It was live in front of them. And when they saw this traffic management pop out, in 2 minutes, which sometimes could take them days, they were amazed. So at the break, we had 20 people on our stand in the 20-minute break. So the marketing lady were busy capturing all of their so it really is, everybody that sees it wants it. And I think that really interesting stat that was on the video, that is real life. So we were doing a trial demonstration with one of the traffic management companies, and he was a very competent traffic manager, and he said on average he would probably manage to do 9 plans in one day. We sat with him and we did 15 plans in 1 hour with him. So that just shows the power of it. So this is really, the exciting transformational piece for it, because it is pure SaaS. It'll be no service revenues, quick to access, one platform. Yeah, and the gross margin levels on this will be 80 to 90%. So to finish off then, what are our objectives and what's the outlook? So we've got a few things to do. First of all, really capitalise on TMPA in the UK and the considerable opportunity in the US. We've taken on 3 sales directors in this new year. We've got lots of investment going into the US, increasing our workforce by about 25%. We just got to get on with it because the opportunity is there. We're going to continue our investment in our platform and, actually our next SaaS opportunities, but also traffic management plan. There's high-speed roads. We then want to take that into Canada because there's similar rules out there to the UK. We want to maintain and expand our partnership strategy in all key geographies. And obviously, we want to grow all the financials in a really good, positive way. And I think, having Stuart on board is transformational for us as well. We're going to do an amazing job together. So we're really excited. So just in terms of outlook, we had a good performance in FY23, some good wins, and we've got really good confidence for future growth. Trading in the new financial year has begun positively, and we've got a really significant growing sales pipeline, particularly with the traffic management plan. We are looking at utilities that are doing 90,000 plans. And we're continuing to grow our annual recurring revenue and backlog of revenue. And that's really good to have that with this challenging macro environment. And, we are increasing investment to accelerate the scale up of the same sales team to really capture this substantial opportunity that we have both in the US and with traffic management plan.